Hello and welcome to Sport Vibes on DNT Work. My name is Bolaji Alimi, the sports pilot. This week we'll be focusing on a certain football club and an individual, reflecting on the level of entertainment they've offered us as sport fans, while also taking lessons from them. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sport Vibes on DNT Work. I did mention that we'll be talking about not just a team, but also an individual. But let's start with the team now. We're talking about no other team than one of the team of the moment in football in Europe right now, which is Arsenal Football Club. Of course, when you talk about their entire season, maybe the whole season has not been so encouraging for some of their fans, considering the expectation they had, the amount of money they spent, and all these things. But looking at their recent run of results, I think an average Arsenal fan should be encouraged, and also an average sport fan who is not having any allegiance towards any of the clubs they have faced in recent weeks. So we go straight to the point now. So Arsenal, the month of April didn't start so well for them. They lost to a few teams that some people would have predicted they should have won, considering that Arsenal Football Club in England are contesting for the top 4 race this season. Their whole season has been about that, really. They got knocked out in several other competitions very early, so they had the time to focus on the Premier League alone and get what they want to get, which is qualifying for the Champions League for the first time in several years. They haven't qualified for the UEFA Champions League in Europe since the departure of their former boss, Arsene Wenger. And so, starting the month of April, despite the fact that they had a game in hand, which was against Chelsea, and they seem to have the advantage at some point in this season, talking about the top 4 position, we have Manchester City leading the table, Liverpool following, and Chelsea. The top 3 seemingly secured, and the contention has been between Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester United, and West Ham maybe for the top 4 places, with all due respect to West Ham. So Arsenal lost 3-0 at Crystal Palace. They were back at home against Brighton and Hove Albion, and then they lost 1-2. Brighton defeated Arsenal at the Emirates 2-1. And then yet again they lost 1-0 to Southampton at the St. Mary's. So that meant that Arsenal lost a lot of ground, considering the kind of grip they seem to have on the 4th position. But what the difference few weeks or few days can make in football, really, from being tipped to repeat another form of downward movement in the league, as we've seen them do in the past few seasons. A resurgent Arsenal side really showed up against Chelsea and Manchester United. These were fixtures that an average fan, an average football lover would not expect Arsenal to win at this point in the season, regardless of how badly these other teams play. They seem to have an edge over Arsenal, but not talking about the previous seasons where Arsenal have kind of taken a bit of grip when it comes to facing teams like Manchester United and Chelsea. So where we are going with all these background stories is that Arsenal recovered from all these failures. There are no easy games in the English Premier League. You would agree with us on that if you've been following the English Premier League for a while. But at the same time, their fixtures are much more easier than others. Playing against Brighton should not be as difficult as playing against Liverpool, all things being equal. And so Arsenal losing to the likes of Brighton meant that a lot of people assumed the top 4 race is out of their hands and all these things. But surprisingly, they stepped up against Chelsea at the Stamford Bridge and defeated Chelsea 4-2. They had to really recover, going a goal up, Chelsea equalizing twice, and finding the grit, finding that mentality, that mental toughness to secure a victory at the Stamford Bridge at this point in the season is something you should give them kudos for. And not just that, they followed that up with a victory over Manchester United a few days later. So Arsenal now back in contention fully for the top 4 position, the 4th place specifically, and are on course to secure a Champions League place for the first time in several seasons. And when you add that to the fact that the Gunners are famous for going on a winning run towards the end of the season, maybe an average Arsenal fan will be confident of securing the top 4 position right now. Of course, they still have a Tottenham Hotspur fixture to negotiate in the future. That should be a very crucial game in determining who secures the 4th position in the Premier League this season. But we'll keep our fingers crossed concerning that. We've talked about the team, now let's talk about the individual. Several players, several stars in the Arsenal team deserve a lot of blood. They deserve so much credit for the kind of hard work and diligence they've put in the last 2 games, playing tough teams with world-class players. When you have the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and several other world-class stars in the team your opponents possess, definitely it's a daunting challenge. But these guys at Arsenal, not many of them are even playing for their teams at the international level. Not many of them are above the age of 25. Relatively young squad when you look at their team, but they are doing well for themselves right now. So all we are saying is quite a number of them deserve credit for the victory. It's not down to an individual, but there's a man that stood out for us on Sport Vibes, and we want to focus on Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka is an international player for England. Someone might be asking how Bukayo Saka is representing the English national team, but we'll leave those details for later. And now let's talk about the admirable feat Bukayo Saka achieved. He became the youngest player in Premier League history to score a penalty in consecutive appearances at the age of 20 years and 230 days. That mirrors the resurgence of his club, really. And a quick story to that is the fact that Bukayo Saka at the finals, the last game, the deciding match in the Euro 2020, which was of course played last year in 2021, Bukayo Saka missed a crucial penalty kick during the shootouts while England were facing the Italian national team, the Azuris. And that was a lot of disappointment for the young man as a young star, despite the fact that many people would say penalty kicks are easy, it's just you and the goalkeeper really. But those that have been there at that heat of the moment know that it takes a lot of nerve really. And Bukayo Saka, being a young player representing such a huge nation and a huge team like the Three Lions in front of a global audience at that stage, missing a penalty shootout was so much of a blow to his confidence. And since then, he has as much as possible distanced himself from taking penalty kicks. But this time around, he summoned courage against Chelsea at the Stamford Bridge while Arsenal were playing Chelsea in the 4-2 victory for the Gunners. Took the penalty and scored. If Gianluigi Donnarumma of Italy could save his penalty, Edouard Mendy could not. And he did not just stop at Edouard Mendy. He went on to face David De Gea while Arsenal were facing Manchester United that same weekend. Arsenal defeated Manchester United 3-1, as we mentioned earlier. Bukayo Saka scoring the second goal with a very, very neatly placed penalty against David De Gea. So it's not about the goalkeepers being bad. This is about the man himself, Bukayo Saka, being superb, being excellent. So right after this break, we take a look at 1 or 2 lessons we can learn from these guys, talking about the team entirely and Bukayo Saka. Thank you so much for watching Sport Vibes on DNT Work. If you enjoyed the video, ensure you subscribe, like, and share the video. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us on Sport Vibes on DNT Work. So we're talking about Arsenal and Bukayo Saka, and now let's talk about the lessons we can take from these. And the major lesson really is all about forgetting about past failures. Arsenal facing Brighton, facing Southampton and Crystal Palace. These were teams many people thought they should have gotten over really, considering the kind of target Arsenal had. Of course, these teams also have ambition. You should not disrespect them. But at the same time, you have a feeling Arsenal have more quality. They spent more, they've spent more money in time past. They have maybe a better coach than these teams in terms of the quality we've seen them display. So on paper, by many predictions, you would expect Arsenal to get over those teams, but they didn't. And guess what? They did not get themselves stuck in the past, as many of us have done. Many times, whatever we've done in the past, we allow them to haunt us. Maybe a past failure, in quotes, because the definition of failure really differs per person. It's a 38-game season, and so Arsenal decided not to get stuck in 3 games out of the 38 fixtures and focused on other games that could determine the whole results, because failure at the end of the season will be determined by the kind of position they finish at. So Mikel Arteta winning the Manager of the Month of March in England getting himself stuck with defeats to Palace, Southampton, and of course Brighton, and then allowing that to make him and his team lose to Chelsea and Manchester United could have been a much bigger blow. So kudos to Arsenal and Mikel Arteta for not allowing past failures, seemingly easy opportunities missed to affect them. And now let's talk about the individual, Bukayo Saka. We mentioned that earlier that at the age of 20 years and 230 days, he's the youngest player in Premier League history to score a penalty in consecutive appearances. This is coming after this guy missed a very crucial penalty kick. So it happens with many of us too. Might be business, might be academics, failed a course in the time past, and then you allow that to just get you stuck in the past. You are scared of mathematics because you didn't do so well at it while you're at a certain level. We've seen this many times. You are scared of venturing into another business because the last one you tried out failed. Which Bukayo Saka for several months did not even attempt taking penalty on the pitch, but now he has restored his confidence back. He's taking it calmly against world-class goalkeepers at that. So don't be stuck with the past. Move on. Just give yourself a chance. You see, even God Almighty himself is not haunting us for our past mistakes. He's not after the human race for destruction. He's reconciling the world back to himself. So why not give yourself another chance? Forgive yourself of past failures, because only you can. If God has forgiven you, why should you keep allowing past setbacks, past mistakes to hurt you? You just go ahead. Might not necessarily be in terms of costly mistakes, might be in terms of business or any other area of life. You just focus on the future, forgiving yourself. Humble yourself to receive God's mercy and forgive yourself. Move on, really move on, because many times when you do that, when you focus on the past, you just close your eyes from seeing the present opportunities and those ones that lies ahead in the future. And as it is in sports, different sports tell the same story really, because within the same time range that Arsenal defeated Manchester United, we saw Tyson Fury in the world of boxing also defeating Dillian Whyte, a fellow British boxer. We told you about Tyson Fury some episodes back on Sport Vibes, how that this man came back from being banned in the year 2016 and revitalized his career, went on to defeat Deontay Wilder in a trilogy match, did a lot of good things for himself. If he had allowed himself to get stuck in the past failure of being banned for doping, probably many people would just remember Tyson Fury for once upon a time defeating Klitschko and then going down as one of the bad boys. Of course, you might have seen him give credit to God for helping him go through that, because he needed a divine assistance really. It was a lot of pit, it was a very, very deep pit he was into back then, becoming fat and chubby despite being a world heavyweight champion in time past, but he recovered from that. So why not accept that divine assistance as well and just move on? That's how far we'll go on Sport Vibes this week. Many thanks for staying with us. My name is Bolaji Alimi, the Sports Pilot. I hope you enjoyed this ride. Bye for now.